Hey guys, welcome. I just wanted to share with you real quickly a few tips and tricks related to your meet entries for the upcoming meets for this season. First of all, I just want to start at AndoverAthletic.com, the association homepage. I'm going to go to youth sports, track and field, and then I'm going to go to the coach's corner. The coach's corner has a few resources for you. That Google Sheet practice schedule is out there still. Along with the picture and meet and greet schedule. We're done with those for 2021, obviously, but they were out there as well. And then we have Google Sheet and Microsoft Excel event entry worksheets, and then a link at the bottom to online coaching resources. So if you have event specific questions, there are some links to videos there. First thing I want to mention about your event entry sheets. You have three options to do your event entries. One, you can use the paper sheets that were included in your coach's binder. That is totally fine. Do not feel like you have to use one of these other options. But there are two convenient electronic options for you to use: the Google Sheets versions, and they're shown here by division, and then the Microsoft Excel versions. So the Google Sheets version you'll do right online. The Microsoft Excel you'll download and save that file. I am going to go ahead and open a kindergarten and first grade Google Sheet in a new tab here. And the first thing you're going to want to do if you use the Google Sheet is make a copy of it. You won't be able to edit the version that you link to right out of the web page, because that's only shared for view only. So you're going to want to go to File, excuse me, and click Make a Copy, so that you have your own copy of the worksheet to work on. First thing you're going to do is input your team roster on the tab that shows up. But before I do that, I'm going to give you a quick tour of the tabs at the bottom. There's a roster tab, a meet entries tab. This is where you're actually going to assign your athletes to their events for each meet. A meet summaries tab, which for each meet is going to give you a total number of events each athlete is signed up for. And then a season summary, which is going to show you which athletes have completed which events how many times throughout the course of the season. So I'm going to jump back to my roster tab. Most of you are just going to enter first and last names in here. If you're kindergarten and first grade, it might be helpful just to put the gender down, because you do need to think about gender when you're doing your co-ed relay teams. You have to have at least one girl and one boy on each co-ed relay team. In my case, I've got my data copied over from another spreadsheet. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste that in here. And then that information is going to show up as their full name down the right-hand side in this column. No need to enter anything in there. You only have to enter into this light blue shaded area here on the Google Sheet. So with that, I'm going to jump over to my Meet Entries tab. And this is where I'm actually going to set up for each meet, first beginning with meet number 1, who is going to do what events. Now, remember, the goal here is to have each athlete do 4 events at each meet. And that's 3 running events, including relays, and 1 field event each. So in order to make this efficient, I'm going to start with the field events, and I'm going to go ahead and slot my kids in for their first field events of the year. I'm just going in alphabetical order right now, but you can do this in any order you would like. You click this little drop down arrow in the bottom right corner of the tab, and that's going to pull up that list of kids from the roster tab that you just entered. So I've got my 4 kids in there for the long jump, and then I'm going to do 4 more for the softball throw. We'll get Gregory and Henry in here. And I only have 11 kids on my team, so I'm not going to fill out all my spots here, but I'm going to put my last 3 in the broad jump this week. So I've got each of my 11 kids in, and you'll notice there are some blank white spots over here. So you can fill all of these if you have enough kids to do so. But for the most part, you're going to have more white blanks than kids to add in this area. Your sheets are set up with either white or dark shading. The dark shaded ones are the ones that we're really aiming not to use those. They do work, so you can pick kids and add them to the drop-down menu here. but it really is supposed to, you really should stick to the white areas if at all possible. Like I said, you're going to have some extra white spaces. That's okay. You have more white spaces here than you will have kids to enter into the 4 events each. So you should have some extras. So now that I've entered those into the long jump, softball throw, and broad jump, my field events are done. Each of my athletes has one of those. I'm going to skip the races for now and head down to the relays and make sure I've got my relay teams filled out. So I'm going to make sure I've got at least one boy and one girl on each of my relay teams. So put Allie and Frank and Brianna and Eric on relay teams. And then I'm going to add, we'll add Corey and Dana to that first relay team. So I'll have 3 girls and 1 boy, and that's just fine. Then I've got Brianna, Eric, and I'll add Gregory and Henry to that other relay team. So I've got one team with 3 girls, 1 boy, one with 1 girl and 3 boys. You can go 2 and 2. That's all good. So I've got my 2 relay teams, my 2 co-ed shuttle relay teams all set. I've got my field events all set. I can click over into the meet summary, and I can see that now I'm seeing a series of 1s up here. So where I have Allie entered into the long jump, I'm going to see a 1 there. And I've also got her entered into the co-ed shuttle team 1. I've got a 1 there. And so she's listed as 1 field event, 1 relay event, 0 race events, and 2 total events. This bottom line is yellow right now because none of my athletes is at 4 events yet. When they get to 4, that's going to flip over to green coloring there. So you're going to know when you're all set. So I'm going to go ahead and start entering my other kids in. I'm going to start with my 3 kids who still only have 1 event. Remember, they weren't entered into the relay. So I'm going to start with Larry, Mike, and Nolan and get them set up on each of our open race events. So I'm going to add Larry to the 50-meter boys, 70-meter boys, and 90-meter boys. And I'll do the same for Mike. And I will also repeat that for Nolan. So Larry, Mike, and Nolan are going to have their 3 running events in non-relay events plus their field event. So if I flip back over to that meet summary, you'll notice they're now green and they show 4 total events. So they're all set. So my other kids, though, they each only have 2 events. So I need to get them entered into some individual races as well. So let's start with Allie. I'm going to get Allie in the 50-meter and 90-meter girls. I'm going to go ahead and put Brianna in the 50-meter. Let's do the 70-meter. I'm going to get Corey in the 70-meter and the 90-meter. And this first meet, you can kind of be random. If you want to have a pattern to it, you can do that. The important thing is just to check your totals and make sure you're not going over. So now I've got Allie, Brianna, and Corey all in 4. So Dana, Eric, Frank, Gregory, and Henry each need a couple more. So let's take care of Dana, and then I'll be done with our girls entries. So I'll put Dana in the 50 and the 70. And then I'm going to go ahead and put Eric, Frank, Gregory, and Henry each in a couple as well. We'll put Eric in 50 and 70, Frank in 50 and 90, and Gregory put in the 70. I left a spot open here in the 90. And then I've just got Henry to add. So I'll flip back over here and I will add Henry also to the 50 and 70. So I have entered each of my kids into 4 events. I can verify that on the meet summaries. I've got a couple extra columns here that are blank. That's okay. So these each have 4 events and we are all set for our first meet. One thing you can do if you want is to plan out your second or third meets right away. You can actually copy on the field events. You can copy your values here. So you know you take your long jumpers from the first meet, and let's go ahead and make them softball throwers in the second meet. So that's one easy way to manage particularly your field events and make sure you're rotating groups of kids through those field events. You can do that with other events as well if you want, but you just want to make sure that you're getting the kids exposed to all of the different running, relay, and field events throughout the course of the season. And then lastly, I'll just show you the season summary. I only have one meet and part of a second entered so far, but I can see I've got Allie in for 5 total events, Brianna in for 5 total events, Corey the same, on down the line. Over the course of the year, I just want to make sure that Allie does all the field events at least once, that she's done the 50-meter girls, the 70-meter girls, the 90-meter girls, and the shuttle relay team. You don't have to make sure that they do both shuttle relay teams. One or the other is just fine, and they'll probably each do it a couple times throughout the course of the season. So this is just a tool for you to be able to use to make your meet entries a little bit easier. Make sure you're not entering kids into too many events, and make sure you're entering them into all the events that they should be in throughout the course of the year. So thank you very much for your time, and let me know if you have any questions at trackdirector@andover.athletic.com. Thank you.